There is a specific kind of energy that makes women move toward a man before he has said a single word. Not his looks, not his status, not his confidence in the way most people define it. Something older than all of those things. Something the nervous system detects before the conscious mind has formed an opinion. What we're covering today are 7 specific qualities of energy, rooted in neuroscience, attachment psychology, and behavioral research, that create a gravitational pull in men that women respond to consistently, across age groups, across circumstances, across cultures. One of them involves something that happens in the first 30 seconds of any interaction that sets everything else in motion. Another involves what this energy does to a woman's nervous system that she experiences as attraction, even when she can't explain why. And the climax, the 7th quality, is the deepest truth about masculine energy that psychology has ever documented. All 7. Let's go. Here is the honest premise. Energy is not mystical. It is not abstract. It is the sum total of a person's internal state, their level of groundedness, their relationship with their own presence, their capacity to be fully in a moment without being pulled away by anxiety, agenda, or the need for a particular outcome. And it is immediately, viscerally detectable by the human nervous system, long before words are exchanged, long before anything consciously registerable has occurred. The man who develops this energy, genuinely through consistent internal work, doesn't need to announce himself. He doesn't need techniques or strategies or carefully rehearsed lines. He simply enters a space, and things shift. 7 qualities. Real psychology. Let's get into it. Bold claim. Groundedness is not a personality trait. It is a practiced internal state, and it is the single most immediately detectable quality of masculine energy available. Here is the neuroscience. The human nervous system is a social organ. It does not operate in isolation. It continuously monitors the states of the nervous systems around it through a process neuroscientist Stephen Porges calls neuroception, before conscious awareness, before deliberate evaluation. The nervous system is already reading the room, specifically reading whether the people in the room are regulated or dysregulated, safe or threatening, grounded or unstable. When a woman's nervous system encounters a genuinely grounded man, someone whose internal state is stable, unhurried, and not contingent on external circumstances being favorable, it responds with a specific physiological shift. The threat detection system quiets. The social engagement system activates. Something in her body says, "This is safe. I can be here." That physiological response is experienced consciously as attraction, as being drawn toward someone without fully understanding why, as the specific feeling of wanting to be near a person whose presence makes everything feel more manageable. Groundedness is not performed. It cannot be faked for long. It is the product of genuine internal work, of developing, through practice, a stable relationship with your own internal state that doesn't collapse when external circumstances become uncertain. Scenario: a man named Daniel, 49, had spent years developing genuine internal stillness, walked into a crowded room at a professional event. He didn't scan anxiously for familiar faces. He didn't immediately reach for his phone to have something to do with his hands. He simply arrived, stood still for a moment, looked around with genuine, unhurried curiosity. A woman named Sophia, across the room, in conversation with 2 other people, found her attention moving toward him involuntarily. She told her friend later, "I noticed him before he said anything, before I even knew anything about him. There was just something settled about him, like he was completely comfortable being exactly where he was." That settled quality, that is groundedness made visible, and her nervous system detected it before her conscious mind had formed a single thought. What most men do wrong, they arrive in social spaces already in motion, already performing, already managing, already anxious about how they're being received. That internal state is just as immediately detectable as groundedness, and it produces the opposite response, what actually works, the daily practice of internal stillness. 5 minutes of genuine quiet before any significant social engagement. The deliberate establishment of your own internal state before external circumstances begin pulling at it. Bold claim: a man who is genuinely moving toward something, who has direction, purpose, and forward momentum in his actual life, carries an energy that is immediately distinguishable from a man who is simply occupying time. And women feel the difference before they can articulate it. The psychology here is rooted in evolutionary behavior research and contemporary studies on long-term partner selection. Across virtually every studied culture, women consistently rate directional momentum, the evidence that a man is actively building something, moving toward something, investing in something beyond immediate circumstances, as one of the most attractive qualities available. Not achievement, direction. The difference is significant. Achievement looks backward. It is what has already been accomplished. Direction looks forward. It is what a man is currently moving toward. The active, ongoing investment in becoming or building something. A man with genuine direction carries it in how he talks about his days, not with the performance of importance, with the specific aliveness of someone whose daily life is connected to something that genuinely matters to them. Mini story. A woman named Rachel had been on dates with several successful men in the previous year, men who had accomplished significant things, men who could talk at length about what they had built. Then she met a man named Marcus, 52, mid-career pivot, building something new that genuinely excited him. She described the difference to her sister. The others talked about what they'd done. Marcus talks about what he's doing. There's a completely different energy. One is a museum of past achievements. The other is a construction site. And I find construction sites infinitely more interesting than museums. Direction produces aliveness. Aliveness is contagious. And the man whose energy is genuinely forward-facing, still building, still moving, still invested in his own becoming, carries something that static achievement simply cannot replicate. Bold claim: the most counterintuitive truth in attraction psychology is this: the less a man needs a specific outcome from an interaction, the more powerfully attractive his energy becomes in that interaction. And this principle, fully understood, changes everything about how you show up. Here is the psychology. Behavioral research on approach motivation versus avoidance motivation documents a clear pattern. People who approach social interactions from genuine curiosity and interest, without needing those interactions to produce specific outcomes, are consistently rated as more attractive, more magnetic, and more worth pursuing than people who approach the same interactions from need or anxiety. The anxious need for a particular outcome, for her to like you, for the date to go well, for the evening to produce a specific result, is immediately detectable. It produces a quality of energy that most people describe as trying too hard, as pressure, as the specific discomfort of being near someone whose internal state is contingent on your response. The alternative is not indifference. It is genuine investment without desperate attachment to outcome. The man who is genuinely interested in her, who finds the conversation compelling, who is enjoying the interaction, without needing it to produce a particular result, is simultaneously more present and more relaxed than the man who needs everything to go a certain way. That combination, genuine interest plus freedom from outcome, is the energy that creates the experience of being with someone who makes interaction feel effortless. Scenario: 2 men asked a woman named Elena on dates in the same week. The first man was clearly invested in how the evening went. She could feel him monitoring her responses, calibrating his behavior to what seemed to be working. The energy was attentive, but subtly pressuring. The second man, a man named William, was simply present, genuinely curious about her, clearly enjoying the conversation, completely unbothered by how the evening was going to resolve itself. She accepted a second date with William, declined with the first. She told her friend, "With the first one, I felt like I was being assessed. With William, I felt like I was just being talked to by someone who actually wanted to talk to me, not someone who needed something from the conversation." Unattached energy. That is what she was describing. Bold claim. The most attractive men don't just have a certain energy themselves. They produce a specific effect in the people around them. They make others feel more interesting, more alive, more fully themselves. And that effect is one of the most powerful forms of attraction available. The psychology here draws from research on social amplification, the documented tendency for certain people to elevate the social and emotional experience of others simply through their quality of engagement. These people don't dominate conversations. They amplify them. They ask questions that produce better answers. They listen in ways that draw out thoughts the speaker didn't know they had. They bring an energy to interaction that makes everyone around them more interesting than they are in other contexts. Women consistently describe the experience of being around a man with expansive energy in the same terms. He makes me feel more like myself. I'm funnier around him than I am with other people. Something about talking to him makes me think better. That experience of being more fully yourself in someone's presence is one of the most powerful generators of sustained attraction available, because it is rare, because most social interactions flatten rather than expand, and because the person who expands you becomes associated, in your emotional memory, with the specific experience of being more alive. Mini story. A woman named Victoria had been in a relationship for 3 years with a man who was genuinely kind and genuinely present, but whose energy had a subtle contracting quality. She felt slightly less when she was with him than when she was alone, slightly more careful, slightly more managed. She didn't have language for this until she spent an evening in conversation with a man named Thomas, who asked questions that made her think thoughts she hadn't thought before, who laughed at things she said in ways that made her funnier, who brought an energy to the evening that made her leave feeling more herself than she had when she arrived. She told her therapist, "I didn't know energy could do that. I thought presence was just being there. I didn't know some people's presence could actually add to you." Bold claim, unconditional acceptance. The experience of being near someone whose positive regard for you doesn't depend on your performance, your appearance, or your behavior in any given moment is one of the rarest and most powerfully attractive energies available, and most men have never consciously developed it. Carl Rogers, the foundational humanistic psychologist, identified unconditional positive regard as the single most healing element available in any human relationship. The experience of being accepted fully, without conditions, without the need to earn or maintain approval, produces neurological and psychological effects that conditional acceptance simply cannot replicate. In attraction specifically, the man whose acceptance of a woman doesn't visibly fluctuate based on whether she's performing well, whose warmth toward her is consistent regardless of whether she said the interesting thing or the awkward thing, whether she looked her best or her most ordinary, creates an environment of safety that most women have never consistently experienced from a man they were attracted to. That safety, felt in the body as relaxation, as the specific relief of not having to manage your own presentation, is profoundly attractive, because it is profoundly rare. What most men do wrong, their engagement with a woman fluctuates visibly based on her performance in the interaction. She says something interesting and they lean in. She says something less impressive and they subtly withdraw. This fluctuation, even when unconscious, communicates that their acceptance is conditional. And conditional acceptance never produces genuine safety. What actually works, the practice of genuine acceptance, of actually finding the full, unperformed, sometimes awkward, sometimes remarkable person in front of you worth your consistent warmth. Not performed, genuinely felt. Because you have made the internal decision that people are worth your positive regard before they have proven themselves worthy of it. Bold claim. In an era of infinite distraction, a man who is genuinely, completely present in an interaction has become so rare that his presence alone creates an experience most women have never had with someone they found attractive. The neuroscience of presence is direct. When another person gives us their genuine, undivided attention, When we can feel that we are the primary focus of their awareness in this moment, the brain releases oxytocin and dopamine. The bonding and reward systems activate simultaneously. The experience is neurologically similar to physical touch. We are wired to respond to being genuinely seen, to being the object of another person's real, complete, unhurried attention, and we are currently living in the era of the most diluted attention in human history. The man who puts his phone away, genuinely, not just physically, and gives another person his complete awareness is offering something that has become genuinely uncommon. And uncommon things, when encountered, produce powerful responses. Scenario: a man named Henry, 54, had made a deliberate practice of complete presence in social interactions, was on a first date with a woman named Josephine. He put his phone in his jacket pocket at the beginning of the evening and didn't look at it once. Not once. Josephine noticed within the first 20 minutes. She mentioned it, almost disbelievingly. "You haven't checked your phone." Henry said, "I'm talking to you." 3 words, the simplest possible expression of genuine presence. Josephine told her friend the next morning, "He was just there the whole time, looking at me, listening to me, actually in the conversation. I haven't felt that from someone I was on a date with in years, maybe ever." The bar for presence has never been lower, which means the man who clears that bar has never stood out more distinctly. This is the truth reveal, the deepest quality, the one that most accurately describes what women are responding to when they describe the energy of a man they find genuinely, powerfully compelling. Bold claim: the most attractive masculine energy is not any single quality. It is the integration of all of them, the specific, rare quality of a man who is not divided against himself, who is not performing one thing while feeling another, who is not presenting a version of himself that is disconnected from his actual interior life. The integrated man is grounded because he has done the work of knowing himself. He is directional because he has identified what genuinely matters to him. He is unattached because his sense of self doesn't depend on any specific outcome. He is expansive because he has enough genuine internal fullness that he can give to interactions rather than taking from them. He is accepting because he has learned to accept himself, and that acceptance extends naturally to others. He is present because he has nothing to hide and nothing to perform. Integration is the product of the same internal work that underlies every quality on this list. The work of honest self-examination, of processing history rather than carrying it silently, of building a relationship with your own interior life that is honest enough, accepting enough, and grounded enough to serve as a stable foundation for genuine connection. The woman who encounters this energy feels it before she can name it. Mini story. A woman named Catherine, 53, had spent 2 decades in a marriage that slowly revealed the man she had married to be profoundly divided against himself, encountered a man named Arthur at a mutual friend's dinner. She had no particular expectations. She was not looking for anything. But something happened over the course of that evening that she spent weeks trying to articulate. "He was the same person the whole night," she told her therapist. That sounds simple. It isn't. Every person I've ever been close to, you learn over time that the person they present isn't quite the person they are. The gap between presentation and reality. With Arthur, there was no gap, or if there was, it was so small I couldn't find it. He was just himself, consistently, completely, without any apparent effort. She paused. I didn't know a person could be like that. I didn't know that was available. That is integrated energy. The specific quality of a man who has done enough internal work that the gap between his presented self and his actual self has become genuinely small, who is not managing a performance, who is simply, completely, honestly present as himself. It is the rarest quality available. It is the product of the most genuine work available. And it is, without question, without exception, across every culture and every age group, the most powerfully attractive masculine energy that exists. You cannot fake it. You cannot shortcut it. You cannot purchase it or inherit it or stumble into it. You build it daily through the consistent, honest, ongoing practice of showing up for your own interior life with the same genuine curiosity and genuine care that you want to bring to every connection. The energy that women naturally move toward is not a technique to be learned. It is a person to be become. Here is the question I want to leave you with. Of these 7 qualities, groundedness, direction, unattached investment, expansive presence, accepting warmth, complete attention, and the integration that holds them all together, which one, if you're genuinely honest, is most absent from your energy right now? Not the one that sounds most interesting, the one that represents the real gap between who you currently are and the man whose energy you want to carry. Because that gap is not a verdict, it is a direction, and the daily work of moving in that direction, imperfectly, consistently, with genuine commitment, is how the energy that women naturally move toward actually gets built. Drop in the comments which quality resonated most and what you're going to do about it this week. I read every single one, and if today gave you something genuinely worth carrying into your actual life, subscribe. Every week, we bring this level of depth and honesty to the questions that actually matter. See you in the next one.